Today, we're gathering around the campfire with Paul, a QHS admin whose life is as exciting and grounding as a hike through the mountains. But what trails did he tread to reach these heights? Let's trek into the wilderness and discover the adventures that led Paul to where he is today.
My name is Paul. I'm recording this prequel video for QHS. My background and summary is that I am a 75-year-old man. I am married. I have a wife and a daughter and a granddaughter. I joined QHS as a result of a podcast that I saw online by Alex Collier. It excited me because I was thinking about the serious health problems I had recently. So I hopped onto that opportunity, and my wife did as well. We are excited to be here, very much so, and a part of this new healing modality, and looking forward to what comes next. I'm going to start off with my heritage, a description of that. And my wife and I both have an Irish heritage. My ancestors came over from Europe, from Eastern Ireland in 1860 and settled in a town called Barberton, Ohio, which was being built out and was in its early stages. The Gilbo family was attracted by the job. Some went to work on the railroad. Some became florists. But there was at least 2 generations of Gilbos before it came down to my father and later on myself. We had a Catholic heritage, and that meant being responsible for the things that you do, being honest, and back up the things that you say. We had a work ethic, and I was working as a child because I wanted to earn money. Our family was quite large. I had 7 siblings. We had a family of 6 boys and 2 girls. So the wealth that I had as a child was whatever I could earn. My brother and I were very close. We were 10.5 months apart, and we stayed that way through most of our life. My father was a pilot in World War II, and he participated in the opening days of both theaters of war, the Pacific and D-Day. He flew on D-Day and was shot down. And fortunately for me, he was one of the only set of air crews ever recorded to survive a C-47 combat crash. So needless to say, he survived, and here I am today. He remained in the Air Force through his whole career. He eventually died in 1968 as complications resulting from his war injury in that crash I just described. So while he was in the Air Force, he was deployed to several stations away from home, and usually some of those deployments lasted 1 to 2 years. During that time, the family was on its own. We lived in large homes because we were such a large family. We couldn't go with him. So it was up to my brother and me to be responsible for the children, while my mom took a second job in many cases. So, being the second oldest, I ended up being the dominant one because that's just the way it turned out. We always had things to do. We always thought about ways to keep ourselves entertained. And generally, my childhood was a happy one. As I progressed into high school, I was very athletic. I was on the track team and the cross-country team, so I was a runner. And I was very thin, and I stayed in that thin state and with a healthy body until I was in my 50s, when I began to bulk out, as they say. And it was the result of my diet, and that ended up coming back to haunt me in later years. I joined the U.S. Navy during the Vietnam War era because I really didn't want to go to the jungles of Vietnam. Fortunately, I was in the Atlantic Fleet, so we stayed in the Atlantic. After I got out, I took several types of jobs, but the ones that were the most fulfilling were the ones where we actually became a contractor to the U.S. Navy for several years. And I ended up, being cleared to higher than top secret for the jobs that I did. We got to travel. I took the family with me on several occasions because we worked on a system that required us and my team to be deployed for about a month in the various locations where the software was operating. It was for ocean surveillance for the U.S. Navy, and the main stations were in London, England, Rota, Spain, Norfolk, Virginia, Honolulu, Hawaii, and Kamasaya, Japan. We did get to travel to those places, and it was a lot of fun because we were able to rent an apartment and basically live there in the economy for the month that we were there. As I said before, I had no serious illnesses or diseases during that time. And when I came to Richmond, Virginia, as just part of a transition in my career, I began working for some commercial companies. It was basically out of the government contracting, and I thrived in Richmond, Virginia. I became a well-known consultant, and a lot of the companies around town knew who I was. My best and final job was as a consultant to a large freight carrier company, which was family-owned, but they had $1 billion of revenue, and they were nationwide and also international. In this particular case, I was able to assist them in the buildup of a brand new IT department. That continued for the 12 years that I was associated with them. And because of the way they operated, they allowed me to create a company which provided them with contractors at the same time, which essentially funded my retirement. I was in my 60s at the time, and in my late 60s, I developed cancer. I actually had 2 cancers at the same time, prostate cancer and multiple myeloma, which was a bone marrow disease of the cells that create red and white blood cells. And I didn't have the devices. I wasn't even a member of QHS. I didn't even know they existed because that was prior to 2019. It actually was in 2019 that I became diagnosed with these 2 illnesses. And at the same time, I am also diabetic. How I came upon discovering QHS requires a little background. My wife and I had both been meditators since 1972 when we got married. And because of that, we were very simpatico in esoteric knowledge, shall we say, and kept that knowledge collection up through most of our lives. And we gravitated toward folks like Alex Collier and his podcasts. And one day he held a black device up and mentioned everything about what it would do and what QHS was all about. And as soon as the show was over, I signed up. And that was over a year ago, a year and a half ago. And so I've been working through my diseases with QHS ever since. So going back, my first bout with cancer resulted in my having to go with chemotherapy. Chemotherapy was supposed to be a 4-week program, but my remission occurred within 4-month program, but my remission occurred within 3 weeks. And so I was basically done with it for a while. But the problem is it's a recurring cancer. And so it seems to have come back, but not as harsh and not as severe. So my oncologist is working through this very slowly because she's not quite sure where it's all going to appear. And even with recent PET scans, she's still not quite sure of what's going to happen. So I'm in a way happy about that because I've ordered a V9, and I expect that will take care of it very, very soon. However, I did develop a diagnosis for clogged heart arteries and underwent a triple bypass surgery just about a month and a half ago. But I'm in a pretty good state because I believe the HHS system that I have and the white devices that I wear all the time have really helped stabilize me and give me rapid healing. So I can't imagine what the V9 is going to do. I'm sure it's going to be even more so. My wife, who's an ex-nurse, is really hopped on board with the dietary requirements for my ailment right now, and it has really worked well because I've lost 12 pounds. I'm walking with unassisted, and for the most part, I'm almost as normal as I was before all of this happened. I am totally on board with the philosophy of QHS, its direction and objectives. And I do my best when I come into contact with acquaintances of mine to begin a conversation that might lead them into that if they decide that I'm looking better or doing better than they would have thought. It doesn't stick. So my wife and I are, as we say, the two little birds in the eye of the storm, which came from a track of Michael Frank's, a jazz singer-songwriter. And we're very happy to be here and hoping to enjoy what the QArc promises.
Join us on the Prequel, where every story matters and every voice is heard. Because here at QHS, we're all about healing, learning, and growing together.